She's brilliant at work. Harvard MBA. Delivers flawless presentations. Comes up with strategic recommendations that save companies millions. But then, she suggests the team celebrate at a high-end restaurant and expects the company to foot the bill. People start exchanging looks. She says men should always pay because that's what gentlemen do. Eyebrows go up. She wonders why her last 3 relationships ended when she's obviously perfect. And you can almost hear the cognitive dissonance crackle in the air. You've seen this woman before. The stunning colleague who can analyze complex datasets in minutes but can't figure out why men won't commit. The gorgeous friend with a psychology PhD who somehow thinks her looks give her a pass on building actual relationship skills. Today, I'm going to dismantle every assumption you have about beauty, intelligence, and how attractiveness bends reality. Because what I'm about to explain will finally make sense of one of the most baffling patterns in modern dating. Why some of the most beautiful women make some of the worst decisions in love, relationships, and basic human dynamics. The explanation is simple and brutal. Beautiful women are often relationship stupid because no one has ever told them the truth about anything that matters. Not sometimes. Not occasionally. Never. For 20, 30, even 40 years, they've lived in a world where truth flat out died the moment they became attractive. And if you think I'm exaggerating, think about the economics of it. When a woman has something men desperately want, her beauty, her attention, her body, those men will say anything they think might get them closer to it. The truth doesn't just become irrelevant, it becomes dangerous, saying it reduces their chances. Instead, strategic communication becomes the only currency that spends. This isn't just some men lying some of the time. For many beautiful women, this is a systematic extinction of truth that starts the moment they develop curves and lasts until the day they die. Every conversation gets contaminated by agenda. Every piece of feedback is filtered through desire. Every opinion gets adjusted to keep the door open. The beautiful woman ends up living in a parallel universe. One where cause and effect follow completely different rules than the reality the rest of us deal with. And here's the kicker. She has no idea this is happening. The lies are so consistent, so universal, and so convincing that she absorbs them as if they were objective facts. She builds her worldview, her dating strategies, her understanding of men, on a foundation of pure fiction, engineered to serve other people's short-term interests, not her long-term happiness. She becomes what I call a master of self-destruction. Someone who keeps creating the exact opposite of what she actually wants, because her decisions are based on a completely fake map of reality. To really get this, we need to rewind to the moment the whole disaster begins. She's 13, maybe 14. Yesterday she was just another awkward kid trying to survive math homework and social hierarchies. Then puberty hits like a nuclear blast. And overnight, everything changes. Suddenly, men of all ages are looking at her. Not just boys her age. Grown men, teachers, her friends' dads, strangers in public. She's been handed enormous power, and she has no idea how to handle it. She's still a kid emotionally, but now she can influence the behavior of full-grown adults. From that moment on, she will never get the truth from men again. Every interaction becomes a kind of negotiation where honesty is the losing move, and telling her what she wants to hear is the winning one. The men around her aren't necessarily evil. They're just rational. They quickly learn that agreeing with her gets them smiles, attention, maybe even intimacy. Disagreeing with her? That gets them cut off. The incentive structure is obvious, and people respond to incentives. Here's the ugly math. Being honest with a beautiful woman almost never gets you sex. Being dishonest often does. That's what I call the honesty-sex contradiction. It's like being in a classroom where the teacher asks, "What do you think?" But you already know there's only one correct answer, the one she wants to hear. Give a different answer and you're punished. Give the right answer and you're rewarded. Beautiful women recreate this dynamic in almost every relationship. They ask for opinions but punish the ones that challenge their views. They say they want authenticity but reward validation instead. They claim to want honesty but react badly to anything that disrupts their self-image. And because the odds of an honest opinion lining up by accident with what she wants to hear are basically zero, men quickly figure out which choice leads to better outcomes. It's not stupidity, it's optimization. They go for results over principles. But here's the problem. While the lies protect men from short-term rejection, they destroy the woman's ability to make good long-term decisions. She builds her dating strategy on bad intel. She gets terrible results. Then, because she still isn't getting the truth, she's fed more lies about why it didn't work. And the cycle keeps going. Only a very small group of men will consistently tell beautiful women the truth. And they tend to fall into three categories. 1. The brutally principled. These are men who value honesty over outcome. They'll speak the truth no matter the cost because their integrity matters more than access or approval. They're maybe 2% of the male population, and they often pay for it socially. 2. Men on the autism spectrum. For them, modifying the truth for emotional comfort makes no sense. Strategic lying literally doesn't compute, so they deliver unfiltered feedback whether she likes it or not. 3. Family men, fathers and brothers. They're not competing for her romantically. They care about her long-term well-being and can handle her emotional blowback without losing access to what they value in the relationship. Notice the pattern. These men are either immune to her beauty's power, or they have strong reasons to prioritize her future over her comfort. The other 98%, they have no such immunity. They lie because the system rewards them for it. The result? She's living in an information desert. Truth is scarcer than water in the Sahara. And she's dying of thirst without even realizing it. Imagine working for a boss with a fragile ego who lashes out when challenged, punishes disagreement, and can fire anyone who makes her feel insecure. She asks for your honest opinion on her latest, terrible idea. Do you give it? Or do you say, "Boss, that's genius," while secretly trying to minimize the damage later? Most rational people pick survival over honesty. They become yes people because the risk-reward ratio makes truth-telling a bad career move. Beautiful women often create the exact same dynamic in dating and relationships. Men figure out quickly that disagreement means emotional blow-ups, criticism means accusations of being unsupportive, and truth means getting kicked out of her life entirely. Agreement? That means continued access. Validation means good vibes. Strategic flattery might even mean intimacy. So the rational choice for men becomes, say whatever it takes to keep the position. And while the short-term survival strategy makes sense for the guy, it's catastrophic for her. Because without real feedback, she keeps making bad calls. And each bad call makes the truth feel even more like an attack. So she avoids it even harder next time. Over time, this system locks in. Lies get rewarded. Truth gets punished. And it stays that way for years, sometimes decades. She ends up with a mental model of relationships, men, and human nature that's wildly out of sync with reality. It's not just slightly wrong, it's backwards. And here's the weird part. Women who aren't exceptionally beautiful don't usually fall into this same trap. Sure, they still encounter strategic communication. Men will still bend the truth to get what they want. But they also get enough real feedback to keep their worldview grounded. Average-looking women get disagreed with more often. They hear no more often. They get reality checks. Why? Because men have less to lose when they tell them the truth. The potential payoff for lying isn't as big, so the cost-benefit calculation changes. It's not that average women like being told things they don't want to hear. They still react emotionally sometimes, but it happens often enough that they learn from it. They get chances to calibrate. Beautiful women? They can go years, without a single piece of unfiltered truth from a man who's romantically interested in them. And that's why they can keep running the same failing patterns for so long. The natural consequences that would teach an average woman, hey, maybe this approach doesn't work, don't kick in right away. Men tolerate way more dysfunction when they're getting compensated with exceptional beauty. The problem is, this tolerance delays feedback until the damage is irreversible. And here's where it gets tragic. All of this, the constant validation, the strategic agreement, the avoidance of reality, ends up producing the opposite of what she actually wants. She's got unlimited romantic options on paper, but her strategies keep producing poor results. She keeps turning victory into defeat, taking the best possible starting position and somehow losing anyway. Why? Because she's been operating off a completely false playbook from the start. And instead of learning from each failed relationship, the cycle just reinforces itself. She gets more lies to explain why the last set of lies didn't work. More validation for her false beliefs. More encouragement to just be yourself when yourself is following a strategy guaranteed to fail. It's what economists call a negative feedback loop. Failure triggers the same behaviors that caused the failure in the first place. The only people who have a real shot at breaking this loop? Strong male role models in her family. Fathers, brothers, uncles, men who aren't trying to sleep with her and who genuinely want what's best for her long term. They can tell her the truth because their relationship doesn't depend on her sexual approval. They can handle her anger and survive her emotional storms without losing anything important. They can also do something romantic partners usually can't: enforce consequences. If she behaves badly, they can withdraw support, apply pressure, and create accountability, because their leverage isn't based on her looks or her approval. But even then, it doesn't always work. Some beautiful women get so used to manipulation and validation that they reject even family accountability. They'll use guilt, emotional withdrawal, or even anger to train relatives to stop challenging them. When that happens, they go full fantasyland. They're no longer just disconnected from reality, they're actively avoiding it. That's when you see the tragedy of wasted opportunity. The best possible source of truth in her life, the people who actually love her enough to challenge her, gets shut out, and the system wins. Here's the deeper layer. Beautiful women often get power over men's emotions and decisions before they've built the maturity to handle it. There's a power-wisdom gap. In most areas of life, power comes slowly alongside learning. Business leaders start small and gain wisdom as they climb. Politicians usually work their way up through smaller roles. Celebrities often have years of gradual exposure to fame before reaching the top. But beauty is different. One day she's just a kid. The next, she's got the ability to influence grown men. No gradual ramp-up, no trial period, no mentorship program. And without those early learning experiences, she never develops the skills to manage that influence well. She can attract attention, sure, but she doesn't know how to keep it in a healthy way. She can inspire devotion, but she doesn't know how to maintain it. The gap between her influence and her understanding only widens over time. And here's the real kicker. Power itself blocks the learning experiences that could close the gap. When you can get what you want through beauty and charm, why bother learning the deeper skills? You don't have to earn outcomes, you can manipulate for them. But over time, that approach collapses. Power without wisdom is a self-destruct button. And when it blows, it takes both her relationships and her self-image with it. All of this is reinforced by a behavioral conditioning system. In psychology terms, it's intermittent reinforcement, the strongest form of conditioning we know. Every time she rewards a lie, she teaches men that lying works better than honesty. Every time she punishes the truth, she teaches them honesty is dangerous. The result? Truth doesn't just become rare, it goes extinct in her social ecosystem. And then comes the self-fulfilling prophecy. She expects men to just tell her what she wants to hear. So she creates conditions that make that the only safe choice. Which means, men only tell her what she wants to hear. And her expectation becomes reality. The tragedy here is that everyone loses. She loses the feedback she needs to make good decisions. Men compromise their integrity for short-term access. Relationships become fake, built on strategic deception instead of authenticity. And the system keeps running because the incentives make it nearly impossible to break. This isn't about beautiful women being naturally dumb. In other areas, school, work, technical skills, they thrive because those environments do give them honest feedback. The dysfunction only shows up in the domains where their beauty distorts how people respond. It's not a genetic flaw, it's an environmental one. And it's not even unique to women. Successful men fall into similar traps when they gain unearned power. Power without accountability almost always distorts reality. The point is, this isn't about blaming beautiful women. They're responding rationally to the information they've been given. The problem is, the information is systematically false. The truth is, Beautiful women deserve sympathy more than blame. They've been living inside a system that lies to them from the moment they become attractive until the day they die. They're not failing because they're stupid, they're failing because they've been systematically misinformed about how the world works. And the men lying to them? They're not all villains either. They're just playing by the rules of a game that punishes honesty and rewards validation. They're making rational moves inside a broken incentive structure. But that doesn't change the outcome. Beautiful women lose access to the truth they need to build real, lasting relationships. Men lose their authenticity in pursuit of short-term rewards. Society loses the possibility of genuine communication between the sexes. The rare exceptions, those strong family men who tell the truth no matter what, are the only real lifeline for a beautiful woman to stay grounded. But even they often fail because the system is so strong and the reinforcement so consistent that even well-meaning truth-tellers eventually give up. And that's the real tragedy. This is not a her problem or a him problem. It's a structural problem. It's the way we arrange incentives around beauty and power. The fix isn't to tell women stop being beautiful or to pretend beauty doesn't create advantages. It's to make sure those advantages don't block the development of the other skills needed for healthy, long-term relationships. Beauty should be an enhancement, not a substitute for character, wisdom, and emotional intelligence. So what's the way out? For beautiful women, it starts with making a conscious choice to seek the truth, especially when it's uncomfortable. Create space for honest feedback, even if it challenges your beliefs. Value reality over validation. Ask not, do I like hearing this? But, is this actually true? For men who care about them, it means finding the courage to be honest even if it risks short-term consequences. Prioritize her long-term happiness over short-term access. Don't enable dysfunction just because it's easier in the moment. And for society, it means recognizing that beauty brings unique challenges. We need systems, mentors, role models, honest friends that keep people connected to reality even when their attractiveness tempts others to lie. Because here's the hard fact. Beauty alone will never compensate for toxic behavior forever. At first, yes, men will tolerate more drama, more entitlement, more dysfunction when the woman is extraordinarily beautiful. But eventually, the cost outweighs the benefit. And when that happens, all the beauty in the world won't hold the relationship together. If a woman has built her strategies on lies, the collapse is inevitable. The most beautiful women can still find lasting love and happiness, but only if they break free from the system that's been feeding them falsehoods their whole lives. That means developing relationship intelligence deliberately, because the environment won't naturally give it to them. It means welcoming people who challenge them, not pushing them away. It means practicing gratitude toward the rare individuals who are willing to risk their place in her life to tell her the truth. And it means understanding that in relationships, truth is the highest form of love. Yes, truth can hurt in the short term, can sting, can bruise the ego, but lies will destroy you in the long run. The women who figure this out early are the ones who win twice. They get to keep their beauty and their happiness. Because here's the ultimate takeaway. It's not beauty that makes someone relationship dumb. It's the environment beauty creates. A world where honesty is punished and validation is rewarded. That stunts the development of the skills needed for love to last. The tragedy is that this same beauty, the thing everyone assumes gives her all the advantages, is also the very thing that can undermine her chances of ever building the relationship she actually wants. But that tragedy doesn't have to be permanent. Once you see the system clearly, you can choose to operate differently inside it. You can decide that you'd rather have the discomfort of truth than the comfort of lies. You can decide that you want to be loved for who you are, not for the image you've carefully curated. You can decide that beauty should open doors, but it's character, wisdom, and emotional maturity that keep them open. If this breakdown has opened your eyes to how beauty and deception interact, make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on. In future videos, we'll go deeper into the hidden psychology of attraction, power, and human behavior, because the more you understand the incentives and dynamics at play, the better you can navigate them, whether you're living through them yourself or just watching from the outside. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, someone who might be living inside this system without even realizing it. Because once you understand the rules, you can stop being played by them. And that's when you finally get to start winning.